Imagine growing up in a household with two deaf parents. Some might view this as a challenge to overcome. Jonathan Cooper, however, has a different outlook.
I grew up like any other child did. I just had deaf parents. I mean, things were pretty normal. Like I still went to school. I was the youngest child, so I got that same treatment no matter what.
Jonathan doesn't view his experience as a challenge. In his eyes, it was just a different way of living.
I never thought of it as a challenge. Like it's just how I grew up. Like it was my normal, and so like for other people, like it's not their normal. So like of course they're gonna be fascinated by it. But like honestly, I wasn't really fascinated by having hearing parents. Like I want to go over to a friend's place and like watch them. Like or I have like friends over or like my parents are in town and we're around people and I'm signing. Like people will watch us. But like I've never had that. Like I've never done that to people with hearing parents.
Jonathan is passionate about bringing awareness to the community about deaf culture. Social media is a platform he uses to inform his peers.
So normally people ask me a lot of questions about like sign language and just like ask me to sign like words for them. Um, and then I just get questions like, "Oh, I bet you had wild parties growing up." Like I actually have a Twitter thread. Like just I got bored one night and so I just thought it'd be funny to make a Twitter thread of all the questions I've gotten about having deaf parents. Like, "Oh, I bet like I could just play loud music. I bet I could just sneak out. Like I bet I've had a lot of people over." And I'm like, "Nope, parents are still parents." And especially being the youngest of the three, like my mom and dad like knew like when stuff was going on. So like I couldn't really get away with anything because my older sister, she was the troublemaker. So I kind of learned what not to do.
Challenges look different for each individual, but how we deal with them is what matters
So
most.
there were like some challenges like if I had to call my parents for like an emergency or something, like I'd have to text them and then like wait for that text. I don't really think it's something to take away from. It's just something that like I've had a different life than most people, than the majority of people. Like I was the only kid in my school that had deaf parents. I encourage people learning about is like learning about sign language, deaf culture, because um, there's a lot of other reasons to learn sign language instead of just communicating with deaf people. Like people, speech pathologists, they use it to communicate with their patients who are nonverbal. And it's just a fun language to learn.
Jonathan's story is an inspiration to many. He doesn't view his experience as a setback, but more as a positive experience he is able to share with others.